All right, good afternoon, everyone. It is 1 o'clock, March 1st. This is our first regular meeting of the Board of County Commissioners in the month of March. Let's see. First on our agenda is the approval of the agenda, and I think we have some changes pending responses over the weekend. Let me pull up the original list that we had. Oh. Okay, I'm sorry about that. All right. All right, so on our agenda, we have landfill fees increase our resolution. We have an MOU for the transport and storage of decedents with Chaffee County, which we have not gotten a response from Chaffee on yet. So while we still do have an arrangement with Chaffee, the Chaffee County coroner, we don't yet have an MOU document to formalize that agreement yet. So I suggest we remove item 2. The Lumen contract, I'd like to keep on there. It is a proposal, however, and we will get more fleshed out contract once we respond to Lumen, who is CenturyLink. So that one is just kind of a title change there, but we can get to that. The disaster declaration, we do have recreation contracts and independent contract agreements. We have the Newmont mining easement. That is not ready. We have not gotten that, sent that back to Newmont for review for then their response to us. So I would also suggest we remove number 6. We have number 7, Kimley Horn Master Service Agreement for the airport. And then number 8, Smoyer and Associates Community Survey for Colorado, or Community Wildfire Protection Planning process. So I think the only 2 that we do not have material for are number 2 and 6. Does that sound right to my fellow commissioners?
Yes, that sounds right to me.
Okay.
Slow on the mute button today.
All right. So with the removal
and then,
oh.
This is Janine, sorry. I was hoping we could also get a final on the Broad Voice bid that we got for the annex phone.
Janine, I think Amit, we can't add that to this agenda, Janine, but I think that is a smaller agreement that would go along with the public health. So we can circle back to that and see where we are with Amit on that.
Okay, because I think all we had left was just that you had wanted to just see if Verizon had a comparable option, and
yep.
And then we just really need to get it going.
No, yeah, let's connect after this meeting to just circle back on all that info there, Janine.
Okay, that sounds good. I'll just check in with you then for that.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so with the removal of item number 2 and 6, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I will make a motion that we approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Okay. Approve the agenda with removal of item 2 and 6. Any further discussion?
Nope.
Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Great. Sorry, now I was going to put that in the chat. Okay, let's move into community informational items. Commissioner Marcella, do you have any community informational items for us?
I don't think that I have anything for today. Thank you.
Commissioner Fiedler?
I don't either.
Okay. I have a couple items, in the water arena. We did submit an objection letter on a resume that was submitted to the Division of Water Resources. This is something that triggers kind of a closer review by the division. And in particular, this one would likely affect the work that we just completed up on the Dairy 3 on Mount Albert. So we have done that, and we will be working with our water attorney to submit our diligence per outlined in our decree by the end of this month. And we have plenty of work that we've been doing over the last couple of years to summarize and include in a report there to the division. And the Dairy 3, we have been working since there's so little water available on the spot market. For those of you who might not know, we are going to be able to allocate Dairy 3 water for Mount Massive Golf Course use through this year, which we hope will not only exercise our new telemetry equipment and the method and measuring and monitoring up there at the site with the division, but will provide them with much needed water for their season. And with that, I think that's all that I have. Commissioners, was there anything else that you maybe thought of before we go into business?
No, I don't have anything. Thank you.
Okay.
No, I'm good.
All right. Let me get the last two items here copied and put into the chat. All right. Okay, do we have any commissioner clarifications?
No.
Nope. All looks good.
I don't have anything either. All right, we have time for public comments on items not on the agenda. If you want to sign up for comments through the chat function or raise your hand, comments are limited to 3 minutes. We request that you remain respectful. And also, you can feel free to contact the clerk anytime as well to submit any public comments that you'd like to be read into the record. I am not seeing any.
No.
Commissioner Mudge, I believe
Yes,
Ms. Nielsen has put in the chat that she's available to do a COVID update if you like.
that sounds good. I'm sorry, Colleen, I skipped you there in the community informational items. Let's do one more review here, see if we have any public comments. I do not think that we have any. All right, Colleen, would you, yes, please give us a COVID update. Thank you.
Thank you guys, and happy Monday. And so the big news that has happened in the last week is that the governor has changed the phases once again. If I'm able to share my screen, I can kind of show you the update that just came out on Friday. So just a couple of days ago. And basically the thought was to continue to break up the phases, because the next phase in our phase 1 was a pretty big one. And so I will show you here in just a sec what the new 1B3 looks like, because now as of Friday, there's now a 1B.4. So we are still, as of today, working through our phase 1B.2, which includes our 65 and up, as well as our pre-K through 12 educators, between Rocky Mountain Family Practice, St. Vincent Health, as well as Safeway. Safeway just came online about a week ago with vaccine. We continue to finish up this phase in the sense of doing second doses. We do know that as of last week, the state was able to provide that we have successfully vaccinated our 70 and up population by over 70%. 70% was the goal. And as of last week, it showed that we were at 74%. So that's very exciting to know that we definitely hit that mark. Big shout out to St. Vincent Health, as well as Rocky Mountain Family Practice, who were specifically taking care of that population while public health worked on some of the other smaller groups within that phase. Come Friday, so March 5th, this Friday, the next phase is going to begin. And you can see that we did have a phase 1B3. They've now divided it into 2 phases. So 1B3 now is folks age 60 and older, frontline essential workers in grocery and agriculture, as well as people, while it says 16 and up, the vaccine that we have, Moderna, is only certified for 18 and up. So for us, this will include folks 18 to 59 with 2 or more high-risk conditions. They're listed in that box. We have posted this on our website. We'll continue to push this around as well so folks can see whether or not they can identify. The key to think in this group is this probably includes about 2,000 plus people. It's going to take a while for us to get through this phase. Unlike some of the other phases, there was much smaller numbers. This is a big one. So at this point in time, come Friday, March 5th, both Rocky Mountain Family Practice, St. Vincent Health, and Safeway will be working through this phase. Public health will be finishing out our educators and our second doses and trying to work with our other providers to see where the need is and how we might be able to do this phase more effectively depending on where we're at. As you know, everything continues to be around dosage and how many we get. We feel confident, as does the providers who are stepping into this next phase, the 1B3, that they'll be able to provide probably a total in this county about 500 doses a week. So if we think we have 2,000 plus folks, probably going to take us about a month to go through this phase. So we ask folks to be patient, to call these providers and set up an appointment. They will put you on a list and we'll go from there. If we get more vaccine, we'll move more people through, but we're hoping to get 500 a week. We have yet to get 500 in 1 week, so this is a big ask. The state is telling us that more vaccine will be coming into the state, so hopefully that will all come to fruition. As you guys know, things change daily, and we just have to roll with it. The next phase, just for information, is that phase 1B4. And as you can see, a lot more folks are called out in that. I know the big questions are, where am I? I'm a frontline worker. This is what the state is specifically calling out as frontline workers. That doesn't mean that you don't necessarily interact face-to-face with someone. These are the particular occupations that the state felt had a little bit more high risk, higher interaction time with clients and or customers. And so the exciting piece is, if you're not in that phase, is the original phase, if you guys remember, way back when there was pretty pictures that said winter, spring, summer. Well, phase 2 and phase 3 have now collapsed into phase 2, with the intent per the governor that hopefully by early April, that vaccines will be available to everyone. So this is different than what you've heard before, where if you were in that general public, you were thinking more June, July. That's not to say you may not get it until June, July, because once again, this will be a large group. But from the information we're receiving as of today, that group will hopefully open up come April. So that's not far off. We'll figure out how much vaccine we have and we'll try to move as quickly as we can through the vaccines, because as we know, the more folks that get vaccinated, the better our immunity is as a community and a county. And that is kind of where we're at as far as vaccines go. When we think about where we're at on the dial, we continue to see cases. So if you guys remember, the dial is that color-coded one. We are still in orange. There might be opportunity to move in yellow. We just finally came out of a severe rating in incidents. So basically what has been holding us back is that we continue to have cases And then sometimes we have spikes and then we have a decrease, but we haven't had that consistent stabilization where we have the ability to say, hey, we feel confident that, transmission is really low and moved into a less restrictive phase. Looking at the numbers, that might be opportunity later in this week. We will reach out and provide information if that's the case. It involves talking with the state and feeling confident that that's where we're at. With that being said, all the measures that have been in place for Orange continue to remain in place. For example, keeping the courthouse closed. That was decided that when we were in Orange, that we would keep that courthouse closed. And so if we have the opportunity to move in yellow, I think there's opportunity for some of those conversations. As well as if we look at phase 1B.4, we do know that continuity of government is in there. We might have opportunity to vaccinate more of our county employees, which puts us at a better protective factor if we have folks coming through the door. That is all I have right now. Any questions?
That's fantastic news on the percentage of our 70+ population, Colleen. Well done.
Yeah, I would
everyone.
say well done to St. Vincent Health and Rocky Mountain Family Practice and working through it, and for the community's patience, because everyone who wanted a vaccine in that age group has received it, and there's still not too late. Even if you're not, we're moving on to other phases. Anything that you're eligible for, you're still eligible. So for example, first responders and 70 and up, those folks who may not have received it prior are still eligible. So they can call those places as well and make an appointment.
Excellent.
I had a question, just seeing some other sort of like national news stories about how following vaccination, they were seeing pretty dramatic declines in like the positivity rate or case numbers in, say, nursing facilities or some of the other first phase. Or do we have enough data, or are we large enough to sort of see anything like that happening here?
I think that's twofold, Jeff, that we are small, so it's really hard to capture that accurately. I can tell you anecdotally, looking at who continues to be infected, it's still in family groups. It's folks that haven't been eligible for the vaccine at this point in time, or those folks that continue to spread the love, if you will.
Yep. Yeah. And then also, sorry if I missed this. So in terms of our county, where we are on the color dial or spectrum, so if I heard right, it's really just that we continue to not get that 2-week, downturn in positivity. We keep having sort of small spikes that keep kind of knocking us back on the clock, if you will.
I think that's an accurate way to capture that. It's, we just haven't seen stabilization where it's like 1 case, 3 case, 1 case, 2 case. It's exactly to your point. We'll get a spike of 7, which, pushes us into that, phase, which keeps us at orange at this point in time. Like I said, we do have a 1 week now that shows that we are, we don't have a red incidence rate, because that's what's been kind of holding us back. And so there might be a conversation this week, with the state to see that we feel confident. We know some of that was still just coming down from, an outbreak we had about 2 months ago. And sometimes it just takes time to work its way through. And then hopefully, like we said, we're seeing less infection, because I think there is impact overall for where folks are interacting, right? And, folks that are traveling into other counties and other communities that are getting vaccinated just like we are. So I think there is, a trend downward overall because of vaccinations, but not necessarily, it's still going to take time to get that stabilization piece. And it's also has to continue to be that reminder to continue to wear your face mask, social distance, don't mix in other households. And that's still, folks are tired, as we recognize. And that's why, the vaccination seems, when it's your turn, please get on, get on the list and let's get you vaccinated. And even
Great.
once you get vaccinated, none of those things go away. It's not until we're in a high percentage of vaccination. What we call immunity for the community is when, we'll have the ability to be a little bit more flexible in the decisions that we're making, to be less restrictive. So,
Colleen, this is Kayla. I have a quick question. Have you had a high rate of community members rejecting the vaccination, or do you have any information on that?
we haven't done a formal survey to hear who's rejecting it. We have heard from some community members that I might say are what we would call a late adopter. They want to see when a lot of folks get vaccinated, both their first and second dose, see what happens. And then if they, feel confident that it is, trustworthy to them, even though we have the science and the data that backs the trustworthiness of the vaccine, how it's manufactured, including understanding the side effects that do accompany a vaccine, which isn't unusual from other vaccines that we provide. I think that's a piece of it. We also know that we haven't reached all of our 65-year-olds. And so we've been trying to shake the trees and drum up some business that way, because we want to make sure, as we know, the older you get, the more susceptible you are from, I shouldn't say more susceptible. That's not the right word. I apologize. I'm taking that one back. The data shows that the folks who are the sickest that end up being hospitalized and or die from COVID-19 are in the higher age groups. So hence why we started there.
Colleen, this is Kaylee. I just put the slide deck from the governor on Friday. And it's, breaks down from healthcare workers to 70 plus to, educators and whatnot. So it's kind of helpful to show what the goal is, but it does show kind of a pattern of what, overall the state expects to see in terms of who is really actively getting it versus those late adopters.
I appreciate that, Kaylee. Thank you.
Fantastic.
I don't think I have any questions. Well, I guess I do actually. Sorry, I have one additional question. In terms of the dial and the movement on the dial, given that the state has a 1 week incident metric now, how does that affect our movement on the dial? And is there a change in how fast we have to move on the dial? Like if we do move to yellow and then that incident rate at the state level for 1 week changes to red, do we need to move back to orange like the next day and then move back to yellow? Like I just think it'd be helpful to understand kind of what that time frame is. Is it on a weekly basis or a bi-weekly basis of how that works?
Great question, Kayla. So the intent of the 1 week window is to open up that opportunity to move into a less restrictive. While that is true, it's also the ability to move into more restrictive, considering the time frame. It's not something that happens overnight. It's a conversation with the county. So for example, we'll play it where we move into yellow. I don't think anyone on this call is going to want to fight that. I think everyone would be more than open, myself included, to move into yellow, looking at our numbers. But say, for example, we have another outbreak or a spike, there would be opportunity in that conversation with the state to say, hey, we recognize why we had a spike. It had nothing to do with decreasing restrictions, if you will, in these certain areas. And it would be a conversation with the state. So we wouldn't get whiplash, so to speak, to go yellow 1 week, orange the next, kind of a thing. So there is opportunity for that conversation at the state level.
That makes sense, Colleen. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Excellent. Any other questions for Colleen? Okay. Thank you so much, Colleen. Thank you, Kaylee.
Thank you guys for your time. I appreciate it.
All right, and with that, we'll move into our agenda items. First is the landfill fee increase resolution. And I can pull that up for us to read into the record here. And as I'm doing that, I will say that I have not received any public comments. Fellow commissioners, have you received or any public comments, or Public Works or clerk? Have we had anyone submit comment?
This is Commissioner Marcella, and I have not received any public comments on this topic.
Okay.
This is Commissioner Fiedler, and also haven't received any public comment. And also just note, I mean, I think we've had this on a couple agenda items for, in sort of discussion phases. So this is not a item that's being rushed.
Thank you. Yes. No, yeah, we had this on two agendas in February to work up to consideration for adoption today. And I can read this into the record again for our proceeding today. First, I will ask Michael Irwin or Patty, have you all heard any public comments on the resolution proposal?
I have heard nothing on it. No complaints or anything.
Thank you, Michael.
I have heard nothing either.
Thank you, Patty.
And the
All right.
resolution will be number 5.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're
All right.
welcome.
All right, I'll read this into the record. Let's see, Resolution 21-5, a resolution regarding the land use and fees for the Lake County landfill. Whereas the Board of County Commissioners determines and declares it is necessary and proper to provide for the safety, preserve the health, promote the prosperity, and improve the order, comfort, and convenience of the County of Lake. And whereas the Board of County Commissioners owns and operates a solid waste disposal site for the positive refuse and is empowered to do so pursuant to 30-11-107-1K CRS. And whereas Lake County Resolution number 1539 amended the use and fees and certain regulations for the use of the Lake County landfill set forth in Exhibit B of Lake County Resolution number 15-39. And whereas after a public meeting, the board has determined that some of the fees and certain regulations for the use of the Lake County landfill should be adjusted, modified, and revised as identified in the attached Exhibits A and B. And whereas the board, upon conducting said public hearings, now determines the adoption of the fees and certain regulations set forth within the attached Exhibits A and B would be in the best interest of the county and its residents. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Lake County, Colorado, Section 1, the Board of County Commissioners approves and adopts the fees and certain regulations for use of the Lake County landfill as set forth within attached Exhibits A and B. Section 2, all fees and regulations previously adopted by the board for the use and operations of the Lake County landfill, which are inconsistent with this resolution, are hereby repealed and rescinded. Section 3, notwithstanding and of the provisions contained within this resolution or its exhibits, the board hereby reserves the right to waive in full or in part landfill fees and or regulations for certain public community events or programs promoting the cleanup of Lake County. Such waiver or partial waiver of fees to be approved by the board at any regular or special meeting. Section 4, the resolution shall be effective upon its adoption. However, the fee schedule as set forth in Exhibit A will take effect on March 1, 2021. Section 5, a certified copy of this resolution shall be posted on the bulletin board located in the lobby of the Lake County Courthouse and published in the Herald Democrat, a newspaper of general circulation within the county. And we have the following Exhibits A, and again, the summary of the changes laid here within. Non-compacted trash would increase at a cost of $5 additional to a total of $20. Compacted trash would increase $5 as well to a total of $35. Our prepaid trash bags will go up in cost by $1. Mattresses, box springs, and couches 40 inches long or greater would also increase by $5 for a total of $20. And we have our regulations, hours of operations, payment, and other provisions outlined in our Exhibit B as well. Any final questions or comments for Public Works on the landfill fee proposal? Sorry, just as you might be thinking of anything else, I will just take the moment to remind folks that we are doing this in the interest and with the intent to cover operation and maintenance costs of the landfill, which we do not currently cover in its entirety, as well as increasing fees because we know that we have expansion to address. We have cells that we need to work with CDPHE, the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, on whether or not they get lined, which could add a great cost to each cell expansion as we move forward every 3 or 4 years with those 3 or 4 acre new cells for the landfill. And so this increase is projected to generate around $230,000 or $40,000 towards the landfill operations to address all of those state regulations that we know we need to work through. Any other comments or questions?
No, I have nothing, no questions or comments at this point.
This is Commissioner Fiedler. I'm all good.
Great. I'll entertain a motion.
I will make a motion that we move to adopt Resolution 21-05, a resolution regarding the use and fees for the Lake County landfill.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion?
None for me.
No, I have no further discussion.
Thank you. Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
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 All right, unanimously passes. Thank you so much. And next on our agenda. Okay, next on our agenda, we've removed item number 2. So number 3 is the Lumen proposal. So Lumen is link. We've been working on getting a new tiered proposal from CenturyLink for quite some time now. I'm about to share my screen with the proposed costs here. So just to sum up, we had requested in 2019 from CenturyLink an increase to our circuits, to our capacities. And this was at a great cost that we didn't necessarily utilize. The demand wasn't necessarily there for all 3 of our sites. So Amit and I have been working with CenturyLink and Lumen to get a new tiered proposal at costs. This cost cuts our monthly costs in half. And while we have a fiber line or a circuit that is 100 or 1,000 or 1 gigabyte, sorry, always mess up this IT tech lingo. We are only needing to pay for and utilize 200 megabytes in most of our locations and 100 megabytes, as you can see at the airport location and the road and bridge location. So prior to this, what they call a tiered fee schedule, we had been paying for the full 1 gigabyte at a greater cost, which again was double what the service subtotal you see here. With an approval, I'm requesting an approval of this proposal from Lumen so I can respond to them and they can get us back a formalized contract for us to consider. Any questions?
Sorry, Sarah, can I just ask clarification? So you're asking approval from the BOCC, with it on this outline of a proposal so that we can go back and get like a fuller actual sort of contract written up or agreement written up with them?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Is this the fee schedule that we are looking for, which Amit and I have worked to obtain, paying for services just at the level that we actually utilize? Yes. So can I get I'd suggest approval of the proposal to then get a more formal drafted and full contract written up by Lumen / CenturyLink.
This is Kayla. So just as a quick point of clarification for myself, Lumen is an operation under CenturyLink or is part of CenturyLink?
CenturyLink has rebranded and named themselves. They are Lumen. So yes, legal did point this confusion out. And I am going to respond to the account manager that I've been communicating with at Lumen, that if we could include this in the language of our, final drafted contract, just referring that they are in fact one of the same. I will ask for that clarification.
Awesome. And then my only other point of clarification, and I'm sorry if I missed this in what you were saying, can you just divulge for us the expected amount of savings per month?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't pull it up. The current cost is around $6,400, between $6,000 and $7,000 a month right now for us. We have been paying for the 1 gigabyte since a past employee engaged and requested this increase in services. So the cost savings will be about $3,000 a month, which I don't think anybody can argue with. It sounds pretty good.
I do not have any further questions right now.
Right.
Yeah, me either. Thanks for working through with IT on, paying for only what we need.
And it's, the transfer from CenturyLink to Lumen did cause quite a lot of confusion and headache with their own employees transitioning in and out and across their organization. So unfortunately, this has really taken a lot longer than anyone had hoped. But with that, I'd like to suggest a motion to approve the Lumen proposal for appropriate services in order to ask for a draft contract from Lumen for approval in one of our next meetings.
Great.
So moved.
I'll move that we approve the proposal from Lumen, proposal ID Q-01097952. So that we can go back to Lumen and get a full contract or agreement for services.
I'll second. Any further discussion?
No, thank you.
Okay.
None for me.
All right. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay. Thank you very much. All right. And number 3 on our agenda, since we're moving, item 2 is the disaster declaration now. Kaylee, I do have the draft, and I wonder if you would be so kind as to read this into the record for us and give us a brief update on, I think we last did this and said that our declaration would be in place until rescinded. And as we were approving new declarations of the disaster of COVID, we were trying to be sure to include kind of new statewide trends and happenings and specific dates. So Kaylee, would you talk us through this briefly?
Yeah. So hopefully you can hear me.
Can.
Not much has changed since our declaration last spring. I just think it's important that we do an extension. We're almost exactly a year out since Colorado, as a state, declared a disaster and state of emergency due to COVID. So we're still very much in the thick of it. We definitely have a light at the end of the tunnel with the vaccines, but it hasn't calmed down since the spring. We're over 650 cases here, and that's happened in the last half of, or even the last quarter of 2020 and into 2021. So the only real change in this extension is just to put kind of a softer hard date where it will be rescinded unless further amended. And I put June 1st in there for now. I'm just trying to be optimistic. There is that light at the end of the tunnel. And then the other addition is that with public health and OEM, and then also with the policy group in our weekly situational awareness calls, we will continue to review those triggers and the metrics for when it's appropriate to remove this. And some of those ideas are maintaining blue dial metrics on the CDPHE dial. If a certain amount of the Lake County population reaches, you know, a fully vaccinated status, if our supply chain and in terms of vaccine and PPE completely open up again, those are some of the things that we'll be considering to remove it. But for now, as you just heard from Colleen, it is still a process. We're not overwhelmed in terms of the actual response, but it's certainly still a lot. So unless there's any other questions, that's all I have in terms of an update. And I just wanted to make sure with the board that you guys were comfortable with that this extension is until June 1, or if you would like to move that.
I think I'm comfortable with that, and to just kind of have a sooner date to aim to revisit. I think that works. I don't have any concern over that. And Kaylee, do you have a clean, I think I have a clean version to read into the record. Do you have access
Yeah, I have.
to? Okay.
I have one that I sent Commissioner Marcel mid last week or end of last week.
Sarah, I
I'm
think
happy to
that's
read
the
that if
draft
you
that
guys-
you, I think that's the draft that you do have, Sarah.
Is that from the 10th?
Yes.
I'll pull that up and sorry guys.
I can yes, so I just have a copy where I cleaned up those dates to say March 1st, since Colorado still remains in their state of emergency.
Right.
And in February, we had closer to 500 cases, and now we're close to 700, fortunately.
Okay. And I think down here, June is the recommended. This is the date that you're talking about to revisit, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right. Would anybody else like to read the resolution into the record? I can do that. Okay. So Patty, this would be resolution 06 then, correct?
That's correct.
Wonderful. I can count. Okay. All right. Resolution number 2021-06. Extension of the emergency resolution declaring a local disaster emergency for Lake County, Colorado. Whereas novel coronavirus resulting in the disease COVID-19 is a highly contagious virus that originated in Wuhan, China, and has since spread to numerous countries around the world, including the United States. And whereas COVID-19 can be a serious illness leading to severe complications and even the risk of death in elderly or those with underlying health issues or compromised immune systems. And whereas on January 30th, 2020, the World Health Organization, WHO, declared the worldwide outbreak of COVID-19 a public health emergency of international concern. On January 31st, 2020, the United States Department of Health and Human Services declared the virus a public health emergency. On March 11th, 2020, WHO declared COVID-19 a pandemic, pointing to the sustained risk of further global spread. And whereas on March 11th, 2020, the governor of Colorado memorialized a verbal order from the previous day declaring the presence of COVID-19 in Colorado constitutes a disaster emergency. And as of March 1st, 2021, Colorado remains in the state of emergency. And whereas Lake County Public Health Agency has indicated that Lake County has over 500 confirmed cases of COVID-19 as of March 1st. Do we want to change that to 700?
It's, I would say it's over 650. It's almost to 700. Maybe we'll get there.
Okay. And whereas the cost and magnitude of responding to and recovering from the impact of the ensuing event is far in excess of the county's available resources, and whereas the Director of Emergency Management and the Board of County Commissioners of Lake County, Colorado are further authorized to declare a local disaster emergency for incident occurring within the boundaries and response areas on behalf of municipal corporations, special districts, and other eligible non-governmental organizations. And whereas pursuant to CRS 24-33.5-7091, a local disaster may be declared only by the principal executive order of a political subdivision. It shall not be continued or renewed for a period in excess of 7 days, except by or with the consent of the governing board of the political subdivision. Any order or proclamation declaring, continuing, or terminating a local disaster emergency shall be given prompt and general publicity and shall be filed promptly with the county clerk and recorder, city clerk, or other authorized record-keeping agency and with the Office of Emergency Management. Whereas pursuant to CRS 25-1-506B67, Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment has authorized 6, to establish, maintain, and enforce isolation and quarantine, and in pursuance thereof, and for this purpose only, to exercise physical control over property and over the persons of the people within the jurisdiction of the agency, as the agency may find necessary for the protection of the public health. And has authority, 7, to close schools and public places and to prohibit gatherings of people when necessary to protect public health. And whereas pursuant to CRS 25-1-5092B, the Lake County Public Health Director has the powers to exercise all powers and duties conferred and imposed upon agencies not expressly delegated by the provisions of this Part 5 to a county or district board. And whereas the Board of County Commissioners finds the necessity to continue activation of response and recovery aspects of all applicable local and interjurisdictional disaster emergency plans, and to authorize the furnishing of and assistance under such plans. And whereas the Board of County Commissioners finds and determines that this is in the best interest or efficiency, effectiveness, and public health and safety, that the Director of the Office of Emergency Management has full authority to assign county personnel, expend financial resources, use emergency procurement procedures, suspend and reassign any county operations or policy to provide full support to the emergency response. And whereas in light of the ongoing risk to public health and safety, at this time, the board believes it is necessary to extend the declaration of a local disaster emergency. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Lake, State of Colorado, that 1, Lake County, Colorado has extended the initial declaration of a disaster emergency due to the presence of COVID-19 in Lake County, surrounding region, and the state of Colorado. The Board of County Commissioners have extended the disaster declaration until midnight on June 30th, 2021, unless further amended or extended by the board prior to that time. 2, the effect of this declaration of local disaster shall be to continue activation of the response and recovery aspect of any and all applicable local and interjurisdictional disaster emergency plans, and to authorize the furnishing of aid and assistance under such plans. 3, the Public Health Director shall continue to have the powers and duties conferred to her by CRS 25-1-506 and CRS 25-1-509. Pursuant to CRS 25-1-516, It is unlawful to willfully violate, disobey, or disregard the provisions of the public health laws or the terms of any lawful notice, order, standards, or rule. 4, based on the Public Health Director's recommendations found in the COVID-19 Safer at Home Public Health Order amended December 16th, 2020, these directives will be revisited and monitored daily. Additional restrictions may need to be imposed by the Public Health Director as the situation progresses, including without limitation mandatory closures. The Public Health Director will continue to assign public health staff to the COVID-19 response as necessary, including contact tracing, case investigation, mitigation planning, vaccine distribution planning, and determining necessary public health orders. 5, the Director of the Office of Emergency Management and the County Human Resources Director have full authority to assign county personnel duties not in their job descriptions, expend financial resources, use emergency procurement procedures, suspend and reassign any county operations or policy to provide full support to the emergency response as set forth in Resolution 2011-31. The Director of Emergency Management and the County Human Resources Director are required to work with the Finance Director and/or County Treasurer to finalize financial resource decisions and to make the funds available as required. 6, the County Human Resources Director and County Emergency Management Director have full authority to suspend and modify all county personnel rules as necessary. 7, the Board of County Commissioners, Lake County Public Health Agency, and Lake County Office of Emergency Management will continue to review metrics and triggers to determine the removal of the local emergency declaration. Triggers to consider include Lake County triggers to consider include Lake County meeting and maintaining the COVID-19 dial metrics for blue, caution level, the status of PPE and vaccine supply chain locally in the state of Colorado and nationally, and the percentage of Lake County residents who have received the COVID-19 vaccine to achieve local herd immunity. All right. Any questions for Kaylee or Colleen?
I don't have any questions.
I don't either.
I don't. I was just going to comment. I think that question of the termination date of this new order, and I'm fine with that date that we have in there of June. I think that makes sense not to have it go just indefinitely, or as long as I think this will force us to, in a good way, to sort of return and see where we are. So I'm good.
All right, I don't have anything further either. I'll entertain a motion for approval of resolution number 2021-06.
So moved.
Second.
All right, any further discussion?
No, thank you.
Okay, hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
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 Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Kaylee. Thank you, Colleen.
Thank you guys, appreciate it. We'll get
All right.
through this.
Great. Okay, next on our agenda, we have a few recreation contracts, independent contracts and agreements for the services of photography and for dog training classes, I believe. Amber, I think you are on. Do you have any other comments on these for us?
No, I don't have anything to add unless the board has questions.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. I can pull these up real quick as well if you'd like. Let's see. All right. We have one with Steve Sunday Photography. And then the second one, see if it lets you, with Jenna Geldrich. And Obviously, Steve is the photography and Jenna is doing Amber, is this a dog training courses? How long do these last? And can you still sign up?
Yeah, so we have 3 levels of dog training. One is for puppies, one is for young adult, and one is for advanced training. There's 6 weeks programs, 45 minutes a class, and we do still have room in all 3 levels.
Awesome. All right, any questions for Amber on the 2 contracts before us?
Commissioners, this is Chris. I just wanted to note that I worked with Ms. McGee I've already reviewed these contracts for her, and so they're sufficient from legal perspective.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. I don't have any questions at this point, and will make a motion that we approve the contracts for photography with Steve Sunday and dog training with Jenna Gildrich for Lake County Recreation Programs.
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Great. Thank you, Amber. Okay, and next on our list, since we did remove item number 6, will be the Kimley Horn Master Service Agreement for the airport services. I believe we have a contract that we can consider approving upon legal review. We decided as a board to award this contract to Kimley Horn in our January 20th meeting. And so I will entertain a motion for approval upon legal review of the master service agreement for airport services with Kimley Horn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? We do still have Michael Irwin on here.
No,
Not
thank
he-
you.
Okay.
This,
Yeah, I'm
this
on
is
here, but
Chris.
I
One
don't
quick
have
question I
anything
had for Michael was are there any work orders or anything pending under this contract right now?
Michael,
No.
did you hear?
Yeah, I didn't hear what you guys were talking about.
Chris asked if there are any pending work orders under this contract right now.
For the airport, no, there is not.
Okay, good. I was just asking just because I'll take a quick look at it, but I want to make sure time wise, what time frame we were working, there wasn't anything urgent pending on it.
Yeah, I don't think we have anything planned until next year, so we're pretty good unless we have something that comes up.
All right, well, I'll put it in the queue to be reviewed and circle back around with you with any questions.
Okay, sounds great.
Thanks.
Okay, great. Any other discussion?
None for me.
All right,
No, thank you.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
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 All right.
I'm sorry that I have to interrupt fellow commissioners. I need to jump off to deal with a family emergency at this point. And so I'm really sorry about
Okay.
that.
It's okay.
Thank
Take
you.
care of the family.
Thanks.
Right.
Bye.
Okay, and last on our agenda of business items, we have Smoyer and Associates. And this is for the community survey for our community wildfire protection planning. This project we've been talking about this in a few different circles. We've talked about this through a work session of ours. I believe Rec Advisory Board, Lake County Open Space Initiative have had a few meetings with Envision Chafee. Cindy Williams is the leading staff with Envision Chafee, and we've been working with Chafee to increase our partnership and also our leverage as a unified kind of organization as the headwaters of the Arkansas in the Arkansas Basin. We have a lot of opportunities for funding that we're eager to pursue together, actually. CHAFE has submitted for a $5 million grant to start implementing fuel mitigation work in Chaffee. And once Lake has some of the same tools that we've been talking about obtaining through priority mapping and an amendment of our CWPP, or our Community Wildfire Protection Plan, that work would move over and start being planned for through a timeline in our county. It's pretty exciting work. The first initial phase of this is to take place over March and a little bit into the first couple of weeks of April. The proposal that we have is in the amount of $4,900, and that's an estimation of hours to be worked. We will only get charged for hours worked. And this survey would be some combination that we work to direct the facilitator to include, to push out to our community, asking at a certain extent of overall recreation and or land management priorities, focus a lot on fuel mitigation priorities, and we hope to include some recreation management priorities and questions in there to kind of inform what I hope this CWPP process catalyzes in our land management partners that we already have really great relationships with through Lake County Open Space Initiative and doing other projects with Public Works, for example, to move into kind of that recreation management planning. Chaffee County is there now. And as we all have seen over the response and kind of result of COVID and people getting outdoors and maybe be a little more flexible with remote work, we've seen a lot of impacts. So trying to get our CWPP amended, and this is the first step that I'd like to ask the board to consider approval on. Any questions, Commissioner Fiedler?
None, and thanks for showing us earlier drafts of this for discussion and going through the timeline too to see how this fits into the broader project. So thanks for that. So no, I'll just say I in a previous personal capacity worked on some survey projects like this, and this seems like, you know, reasonable timeline and cost. So thanks.
Excellent. Yeah, again, this first phase, this survey, community survey piece will go into work into April. At the end of March, we are partnering with CFRI, who created maps for Chaffee County, so that we have kind of the same mapping and values identified and prioritized. And then we will consider in April a larger proposal to go through and facilitate stakeholder conversations with partners over the next 5 or 6 months to give us a new revision of our CWPP to expand beyond HOA and or current subdivisions and identifying recreation valued assets, utility assets, wildlife corridor, incorporating a lot of those so that we can kind of get these heat maps, if you will, of the forest, of where our money, where we get the biggest bang for our buck, they like to say in Chaffee County. Yeah, so I would love to entertain a motion to approve this phase 1 work with Smoyer and Associates in an amount not to exceed $4,900.
This is Commissioner Fiedler. I'll move that we approve that phase 1 agreement with Smoyer Associates.
All right, second. Any further discussion, Commissioner Fiedler?
No, I think this is good.
All right, great. Thanks so much. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And that concludes our business items. Next, we have reports, minutes, bills, and payroll. We have our move to approve the Veteran Service Officers Report for January 2021.
Second?
Okay, any further discussion?
Nope.
Okay, hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, and next we have bills and payroll for pay period ending February 26th, 2021. I'll entertain a motion to approve bills and payroll for pay period ending February 26th, 2021.
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion?
Yeah, this is Commissioner Fiedler. I just want to say the commissioners have been trying to, excuse me, increase how carefully we review some of these. And I just wanted to put on the public record here in this meeting that we have withheld payment for one invoice from the Gallium Group for Human Resources Services. Upon reviewing that and discussing with the county attorney, we're decided that human resources work either sort of duplicates the county human resources department work or inappropriately takes over that. So we're working to resolve that issue with the around that invoice and that work so that we have clear lines of responsibility in the county human resources department. That's it.
All right. I don't have anything to add. Hearing no further discussion on the motion on the floor to approve bills and payroll for pay period ending February 26, 2021. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, great. And with that, we are through our agenda.
Okay.
All right, and at 2:07, I will adjourn.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Fiedler. Thanks, everyone.